Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
They're going to toss it. They haven't got it.
He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly, Miller's still such trouble. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry!
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Radical Race series here in 2023 for Season 2. Today we head to the Far East and Suzuka for the first time here this season. Of course, the twisting and challenging nature of this circuit coming to possibly bite a few of these drivers here once again. The sprint and feature format back once more, as all of the races of this season are indeed. It's very good to be back indeed. My name's Ewan O'Leary alongside James Parfitt for the evening. It's been one of the most unpredictable championships we've seen for quite some time here, James, and it's going to continue here tonight at Suzuka with all the thrills and spills of this championship and all the challenges that this circuit will bring to that mix as well.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot involved in tonight. Don't forget that fast run down into turn one that has been so made famous by the Senna Prost crash, of course, in the F1. And then you go up through the S's just to top it all off at the end of that. You've got Degner 1 and 2 and then into the hairpin. And then, of course, the end of the circuit, you've got Spoon as well. So there's a lot they've got to get involved with. We've seen a bit of drivers spin during practice. It's going to see how they lock it up as well. I know I was talking to Paul Godden before. I said, how are you getting on, Paul? He said, I'm not doing very well. My setup that I had that was comfortable in the practice is not working on track today. So I don't know if that's due to track temps or not, but Paul Godden is struggling here this evening.
Well, we'll have to see how it all pans out. In terms of the championship standings, it's Simon Edwards who's now in the lead with just 5 points over Paul Crabb. He gained most of those, in fact all of those, and a little bit more during the last round at Daytona. Mike Bouston's third. He dropped his last round from Daytona, but moved up to third. Had John McCutcheon, who's 20 points behind. Paul LeMay, a few more points back with Luke Maxwell, who's got one of the biggest totals of points so far, but is a little bit further down. Then it's Dan Webster, Paul Clark, Sergio De La Cruz and Robert Woodward rounding out the top 10. George Gonzaga is 11th out of Seth Brown, with Paul Godden 13th. Wayne Palmer and Darrell Taylor find themselves inside the top 15. Phil Glover down in 16th out of David Beasley. Then it's Phil Justin, Michael LeMay and Patrick Charlton inside the top 20. Jamie Bird 21st. Martina Ward just behind him. Then it is Colin Wynn. Dave Kirkman 24th out of Andy Hugill. James Child all the way down 26th despite some good performances. Gary Tall 27th out of Graham Brown. David Rolliston, Damien G inside the top 30. Ben Underdown with a couple of points next to his name. And a few drivers at the bottom there with no points next to their name just as of yet. But still 5 rounds remaining here and still plenty of time left. But it's one of the closest championships we've seen for quite some time. And you can't even write Maxwell off, to be honest. He's 6th at the moment. 32 points off the championship lead. But just anything can happen in these races here. And I don't really want to write any of them off at this stage.
Yeah, I don't think that it's fair. I don't think it's fair to write them off. You know, you've got anyone in the top 5 can take this championship easily. And I think, to be fair, even when we look at the championship table, look back to down in 6th on 189, Dan Webster on 185, they're still in with a shot. It's so open this year. You know, Edwards, what we thought was going to be a terrible season, because obviously he didn't like the car, he wasn't getting on with it, he didn't even want to change over, and he's now sitting in first place. So it's so open that anyone can win this, and we've seen incidents with Maxwell, we've seen incidents with McHutchinson, we've seen incidents with Crabb, Bousson, Edwards, Paul LeMay. Paul, of course, famously on pole at Sebring, and then just literally didn't go anywhere off the line either. You know, there's so much that can happen in these last 5 races that I wouldn't want to be sitting there going, so-and-so's going to win, so-and-so's going to win, because I'd be wrong every single day of the week probably, because it's just so unpredictable at the moment. But the sprint and feature format has got a lot to do with it and brought a lot to this series this season.
It has brought a lot to the table here. It's worth noting actually that 5 of the top 8 in the point standings used a drop round during last week at Daytona. John McCutcheon, Dan Webster and Paul Clark were all absent. so weren't able to score any points, obviously, when they're not here. Other than that, we have Mike Booson and Paul LeMay both taking drop rounds during Daytona. Now, part of the reason for that will likely be the mess we saw at the start of race 2, which I just wonder whether that will affect anyone going into today. It's a very different set of circumstances. We're not, getting going from quite serious level of banking this time, but we are running down in towards a turn 1 that has seen drama in the past. It's not easy to get through there. I just wonder whether that will add a bit of caution to these guys as they make their way through lap 1 here in these respective races because of what happened last week.
It's quite a peculiar corner, race 1, turn 1, because you go into it at such fast pace and then you've got to get on the brakes and try and slow down for the second part. The banking at Daytona caused havoc, and there was still discussion whether or not it should have been a rolling start. We agreed we think it should have been a rolling start because of the nature of where it was. We saw a lot of them, as soon as they hit the gas, the rear end went down, and that was it. They were fishtailing off and causing all sorts of problems. But turn 1 here is such a long run that they're going to go into that. If somebody gets a terrible start, it could be 2-3 wide easily. And the problem with that is when you try and go down into a very fast-paced corner, 2 or 3 wide, it's not going to work. They're just not going to be able to have that space to be able to do it. And I think they've got to be careful because of the nature of purely that turn. Once they file around there, the S's, you can go round 2 wide as long as you're respectful to each other. You're going to come into Dunlop. That's going to be a little bit more precarious for the person on the outside due to the fact that if he hits the curb, he's going round. There's a lot of other challenges, but that turn 1 is probably going to be the main one right at the beginning.
It will be a big one. Of course, Sector 1 as well, just as a general, is very, very tricky here. Up through the S-curves, Dunlop curve and the Degner curves as well. It's all very difficult, and then you get onto the more wide open expanses towards Spoon Curve, which is not a straight, but it's a big flat out section that will be used as one. And then the run from Spoon Curve towards the Casio Triangle at the end is a big straight section, along with 130R involved there as well. It's a circuit of 2 halves a little bit, but everybody always talks about the downforce and the car handling you need around here, and not so much about the straight line speed. And I wonder what kind of setup these drivers have gone for. I know what setup Simon Edwards has gone for. He'll be difficult to pass on the straights. But what about everyone else? Are they going for the comfort through the corners, the S-curves, or are they going for that overtaking opportunity that you'll get in the second half of the lap?
Well, it's such a 50-50 mix of what you've got here, because you have got some long straights down the front stretch, of course, down through past the finishing line. Then you go into the twisty section. Then you've got to run from Spoon down the back straight, as we say, round 130R. You've got from the hairpin, which they aptly named 200R, the hairpin round 200R down into Spoon. So there's a lot of opportunity to gain speed and gain places. So we know Edwards is probably going to go for a no wing or 1 wing or whatever. He can probably set it as low as possible at. But it's how everybody else is dealing with this. Now, Mike Booson had a few little spins in practice, so he's going to have to be a little bit careful. But honestly, I wouldn't want to sit here and say that's the ultimate optimal, because we don't know what that is due to the nature of the track itself. I think a more balanced setup might be better, but then you've got to be prepared to be defensive down into turn 1 and other sharp corners, of course.
It's big worry and a big thing to think about at the moment. It's just qualifying laps that these drivers will have to focus on. 10 minutes, of course, 3 laps they'll always get, but the 3 laps are pretty much going to take 10 minutes really here, so we're going to use quite a bit of this qualifying time to set the order. Hopefully the main contenders, those fighting for pole position, will spread themselves out a little bit so we can get some excitement, and I'm sure they will, as they work their way through Sector 1, or at least some of them do. This is Mike Booson making his way through the 2 Degner curves. He's currently fastest in Sector 2, but not in Sector 1, as you can see, indicated by the green and the yellow cursors on the bottom right. Paul Crabb up there as well. It'd be very interesting to see what the benchmarks are. We always say that the 3rd lap is most important, but you do need those first 2 to set yourself up as well.
Yeah, definitely. They need good runs. You've got to get a banker lap in, and Buson's doing just that. He's getting a banker lap in. It was fastest in Sector 4 until Paul Crabb's just got it, but he has got a purple on the board. Edwards has got a purple on the board, so has Crabb as well. So the gap, I think, judging by the fact of how well these guys have been doing, I think we can aptly look at Buson, Crabb, Edwards, maybe McHutchinson, Luke Maxwell as well, at the top of the timing tower. So I think we'll see how it goes, but I don't expect the first lap that they set to be their fastest one.
No, it almost certainly won't be, even at a circuit like this that will really grind your tyres down. It's still going to be building it up. Buson initially goes to the front, but it's Paul Crabb who sets the best time first of all. Simon Edwards will come over the line here in a couple of moments' time as well, and he slots into second place there. Paul Clark into fourth, a lot further behind. John McHutchinson has got quite some time to go here, so he'll be able to see the lay of the land in front of him and kind of know what he has to do basically as he's going through these final moments. This is him making his way down towards 130R. There's a good half minute or so where he knows what he has to do on this particular lap, and he'll know pretty much at this point whether he's got poloed off, I think, by the time he gets to here, because he's going way later than the other contenders.
Yeah, he's got two purples on the board at the moment. He's got green in the end. I'd be surprised if it isn't. Second place on a 152.907. Luke Maxwell as well is just about to come across the line. What is Maxwell going to be able to get on the board? He's got a 153. Crabb's now going purple. Was purple in the first three. He's now purple only in two because Edwards has taken the third one. So the order that we accept, Crabb, Hutchinson, Edwards, Buson. Maybe not expecting Paul Clark. We know Paul Clark's been off around Europe this week and last week as well, so maybe he hasn't done the practice, but he's doing very well sat in fifth, of course. Luke Maxwell in sixth, so they're probably going to be the top six, but it's just what order they're going to be around in. I think that's going to be the question.
It's unclear as of right now what the answer is going to be to all of those. Let's see what Paul Crabb can do into the out of the final corner right now. He'll be a little bit after some of those running up in front of him, like Mike Buson, who goes to the front there. Crabb not able to go much quicker. Well, he did go a bit quicker, in fact, but not enough for pole position. Simon Edwards here, I think, has been backing off during this lap. Oh, no, he hasn't. He certainly hasn't. He's got up to third place. Paul Clark doesn't improve his position. He'll stay in fifth place. Luke Maxwell seems to have backed off here. I'm not sure whether he has or not, but he's seemingly taking quite some time to get to the line right now. And John McHutchinson was going well in the first two sectors, but clearly that has resulted in not so good through the middle two as he makes his way towards the line now for the penultimate time.
Yeah, I think regarding Maxwell there, I think Maxwell was just late coming out the pits, to be honest. I don't think he was late behind everybody else. I think he's just late coming out the pits. He's going to want to hug that wall, McHutchinson, and see what he does as he goes over the line. He's going to go up into first place. What about Luke Maxwell? Maxwell has got greens across the board. He is improving his own sectors. So Maxwell is going to end up going fifth and jumps Paul Clark. And then Buson has now got green and purples in his name as well. So he's flying along quite nicely, Mike Buson, here today.
Well, this is a very exciting session now. Only a few moments remaining of it, and Mike Buson knows what he has to do. He not only has to beat the time of John McHutchinson there, but he has to beat it comfortably as well, because if he wants to hold on to pole, he knows that he'll need that little bit of breathing space to fall back on in the final moments of this session. He'll be helpless watching a little bit later on, and that's only if he can improve here on this final lap time. Usually you do see an improvement right at the end, but it's not always the case. Didn't quite grab the apex at the first part of the Casio triangle there. His exit wasn't bad, and he'll run up towards the line with the shortest route to the checkered flag. Oh. He'll go over the line, and it will be pole position for now. What about those behind? John McHutchinson, I think, is going to be the only one to get anywhere near here. Paul Crabb can't improve from third place. Simon Edwards still out there right now. He goes back to pit lane. He won't be improving right now. Paul Clark does improve. He's up to fifth place. Luke Maxwell to come a little bit later on. But at the moment, he hasn't shown the pace to get anywhere near these guys at the front. It's John McCutcheon, who's been on top all throughout practice so far, all throughout the qualifying session as well, needing something special right at the end. And right now, I don't know if he's got anything. No purple sectors on this lap right now. There are some personal bests, but there are some off sectors as well in there, so let's see as he comes out of the final corner right now. John McCutcheon for pole position. He goes over the line and it will not be enough quite. He just about improved, but Mike Bousson holds on to pole position. Luke Maxwell will come over the line. It will only be fifth for him. It will be Bousson on pole by a very small margin indeed.
Yeah, Bousson took pole position on 152.845. Godden's going to come across the line. Jumps up into 12th place. Of course, Sim Stickers, the sponsors, one of the sponsors here. All sponsor logos, descriptions are down and links in the description below, so you can go and check them out. Much love to, of course, HB Automotive, Paul Godden at Sim Stickers, and Paul Clark at iLounge Racing, of course, all sponsoring this amazing league this season here. And Phil Glover goes across the line in 15th place. So, top 6, as we said, maybe with the surprise that Clark's got in instead of LeMay. I thought LeMay might have had an opportunity there, but clearly Paul LeMay didn't quite get there this time around. But he's not a million miles away. He's only 8 tenths off, which, you know, in terms is minor, really, in conjunction. But it's still a lot of places he's got to try and deal with here as well. The grid will be coming up very shortly. But overall, I think it's going to be an interesting race with them top 5.
I think it's not too much of a surprise, really, the top 7, because we've very much seen an 8 for the championship starting to occur here, really. Dan Webster being another one of them, of course, but not here for the second week in a row. It will be Mike Bousson on pole, though, ahead of John McCutcheon, and Paul Crabb will line up alongside Simon Edwards, and just inside half a second was Luke Maxwell in 5th place. Paul Clark joining him on row 3. Paul LeMay in 7th, not that far in front of Steph Brown, who's put in a good qualifying position, and so has Martina Ward and Wayne Palmer inside the top 10. There's a little bit of more of a gap to outside the top 10, headed by Michael LeMay and Paul Godden on row 6. David Beasley and Phil Jocelyn just behind them, with Phil Glover and Jamie Bird rounding out the 16 drivers who will be taking to the grid here. It's going to be an interesting first race, and first port of call really is to see who can quite get off the line, well and not well, because that has very much been a story of this season so far. People going nowhere, people having fantastic starts. Dan Webster's been very good at it, but as I mentioned, once again, not here for the second week in a row. Well, 7 laps now on the board, and the final 5 rounds of the Radical Race Series very much upon us. We will go green in Suzuka. It's not a good start from Bousson. Oh, it's a terrible start in the background for Michael LeMay, who goes straight into Paul Godden. Bousson gets a good launch in the end, and it's big into the wall as well for David Beasley. I think that was possibly, maybe Phil Jocelyn actually, as he goes off in towards turn number 1. A really chaotic start for the second race in a row, but at least the top 10 or so have got themselves sorted out.
Yeah, Godden and LeMay were involved in the incident at the beginning. Phil Jocelyn went directly right, which was very bizarre here, but currently at the moment we've got Paul Crabb sitting in 4th place. He jumps Luke Maxwell. Edwards' rear end does not look comfortable at the moment as these guys are pressurising him. He has slid around a little bit, so it's going to be interesting to see how this one looms here with Simon Edwards currently sitting in. Oh, Crabb's round!
Big moment, Paul Crabb, second place in the championship, goes around down at Degner 2, and it looked like that was a solo incident to me. I don't think there was any contact.
No, I don't think he did. I think he just got in the gas too much coming out of Degner 1. And around he went on Degner 2. He looked like he hit the curb, and then unfortunately just throttled the car and went round. And it's not ideal for him at the moment. But Seth Brown is fighting with Paul LeMay. Of course, we see Michael LeMay there. I'm not quite sure what happened at the start, but it just looks like he throttled up too much, spun the rear end round, and away he went. But Michael's around for 4 tenths over John McCutcheon. Edwards 3rd, Maxwell 4th, Clark 5th, LeMay 6th. And then we get into the Brown, Ward, Palmer, Bird battle.
Top 2 right now looking very, very strong. Mike Bousson and John McCutcheon getting away from the rest. Down in towards the Casio Triangle for the first time in this race. 7 laps here in the sprint race at Suzuka. And it's Mike Bousson who currently leads the way. John McCutcheon in the slipstream though. this the first indication of how this battle is going to go? Is it going to be McCutcheon struggling in the slipstream with Bousson out front? Well, it doesn't quite look like it. McCutcheon pretty close towards turn 1, but no move made.
Yeah, he just couldn't get close enough to make that move there. Neither could Luke Maxwell over Simon Edwards. Edwards isn't really making an impression last time out, 155.94. Of course, Bousson and McCutcheon in the 154s. Jamie Bird sitting down in 9th currently at the moment. His biggest gainer so far, up 7 places. Crab down 10, LeMay down 3, Godden 3, Jocelyn's in the pits, down 2, and looks like out of this race. Looks like he's got a lot of repairs going on as well. So we might see Phil Jocelyn later, but we'll see what happens here as well. But it is Jamie Bird and Martina Ward fighting it out. Round Dunlop with Paul Clark further ahead, of course. Paul doing Paul things, defending well from Paul LeMay, but back up front is still Bousson and McCutcheon.
Here's another two breaking away there, Simon Edwards and Luke Maxwell, of course, championship rivals last season and a couple of seasons before that as well, when Maxwell came out on top between the two of them. At the moment, though, it's about Edwards and Bousson. They came into today only 8 points apart in the championship standings, and it's getting to that point in the season where we start to think about these things a little bit more. I know I talk about these things from about round 2, but it's been very exciting so far this season. Edwards has been really consistently strong once again, especially in the last 3, 4, maybe 5 weeks. He got off to a shaky start to the season. He's right back into form now, but as things stand, he would be losing points to Bousson. However, he would be gaining some on Paul Crabbe, which of course most championship rivals are right now.
Yeah, of course, Crabbe down in 13th. Oh, Hutchinson runs in hard. He runs in deep into Cassio Triangle. That's going to lose him space to Bousson, bringing him into contact with Edwards now. He's got Maxwell pressurising him as well. Seth Brown down in 7th, Ward behind him and Bird behind that. That looks like that's getting nice and close. As Jamie Bird is now looking up to go and jump Martina Ward down into turn 1. Martina Ward has gone defensive. Bird's going on the right side. Whoa! Jocelyn trying to come out of the pits. Nearly caused drama. But he kind of sat there waiting. There wasn't really anywhere he could have gone on that one. So fair play to Phil Jocelyn there for coming out. At least he sat there waiting and didn't just pull out. But I'm not quite sure which would have been easier. But there we go. And now Paul Clark and Paul LeMay, the two Pauls having in a battle as they go up that run out into Dunlop Curve.
To interrupt the battles did Jocelyn there. He just could have done that at the very pit exit rather than out on the circuit, but thankfully Martina Ward was looking where she was going instead of straight to the rider beside her, which was the battle going on at the time, and everyone was able to avoid quite a large accident as it would have been at the time. Paul Clark, as you say though, is very much doing what he does here with Paul LeMay not so far behind. Seth Brown trying to stay attached. Martina Ward, Jamie Bird, Wayne Palmer all there as well, but it's going to be pretty hard work to get past Clark here. He is still in that top 8 in the championship, by the way, although he is 8th after having some rounds that may be to be forgotten about. And coming into today, 60 points off the championship lead. If he is serious about maybe challenging for a title here, then he will need to start gaining some points. It looks like he's only going to be backwards here rather than going forwards.
Jamie Bird is alongside Martina Ward in the back where I was wondering whether or not LeMay was going to make this move. He isn't. Bird has made that move up the inside of Ward. Ward has gone exceptionally wide. Coming back on as well, coming into the Casio. It's going to be side by side here. Jamie Bird looking at trying to take it. Didn't get that move done as well. Paul Clark held on to Paul LeMay and stayed in front of Paul LeMay as well. LeMay, of course, coming up right behind him down this straight. He's going to struggle again here. He's just not close enough on the exit. He's not going to get him on that run into turn 1. And it could be like he's going to be sat there again. The same for Bird. Bird isn't closer either. So he's going to be sat there again behind Ward. So she's doing an absolutely stellar job here this evening. And as you can see, there's not much places here with Paul LeMay. If he puts his car in the right position, he might be able to get past Paul Clark. But Clark's got to do the same. If Clark puts himself in the right position going up through the S's and going around into Spoon, there's just nowhere for LeMay to go. He can't get past it depending on the positioning, and we know Paul Clark's been brilliant on the positioning of the car, but it's going to be down to LeMay to either make a dive or wait for Clark to make a mistake, and you know, both are hard to do or hard to wait for, to be honest.
They are. Oh, Clark saw that coming as well. Down in towards the hairpin, he knew that LeMay might go for the move and the late braking down the inside and immediately shut that door. It's getting into a very interesting battle now, has to be said, but Clark just looks so strong on the straights. LeMay a lot stronger in the corners, but there's just not that overtaking opportunity that you'd maybe want. Into spoon curve, you can see it really made obvious to us here as LeMay gains, but as they come out the corner, despite having the exit and the run, he's just not going to get anywhere. Clark will have the speed down the back straight towards 130R. You're not likely to see a move through here, and LeMay's falling back anyway, even in the face of slipstream, even tucked right underneath the rear wing in front. He just cannot get anywhere right now. Clark even defending as well, even when he doesn't quite need to. And they will go through the chicane again. It will be a better exit from LeMay, but the straight line speed for Clark will mean he'll hold on again.
Yeah, it looks like he's running much lower wings. They're jiggling all over the track up front as well with Edwards and Maxwell. The draft, I don't know if the draft's just not as effective, because Maxwell's not getting up to Edwards and McHutchinson's not getting up to Buson. So I don't know if it's really working as it should here at Suzuka, where other tracks, well, we've seen like Daytona, it just, you know, you're just, there's no air out there at all, you're just hurtling along. But here at Suzuka, it seems to be not as effective. And now you can see Clark has now got a little bit of a train behind him with LeMay, Brown, Ward, Palmer all joining in as well. So it's going to be a nice little tidy six-way. LeMay's looking at going up the inside of Deadlock. Clark's going to try and squeeze him against the grass. Oh, through Degner 1 they go, into Degner 2, and it's still Paul Clark.
It will be, and he'll defend into the hairpin here as well. Watch him take the tight line of the way in here. If he feels under threat, he will not. In fact, he's confident, in fact, that LeMay won't dive down the inside, but I wouldn't have been so sure, to be quite honest, sat at the wheel of Paul Clark's leading car right now, or he's leading his battle, I should say, at 4th, 5th place. To be honest, in these groups, I just think that the driver with the lowest wings has found themselves up front, because look at Simon Edwards. We always know that he's running low wings almost anywhere he goes. Mike Buson, from what we saw earlier on, seemed to be running a little bit lower than McHutchison as well, although they are quite comparable to them. So I just think it's a bit of a coincidence that we're seeing this right now. You can't forget as well that Suzuka is one of those circuits that's a little bit more difficult to overtake because of the flowing nature of the corners, the narrow nature of the circuit as well, so you've got to factor that in as well.
Yeah, but there's a... Oh, Bird has just dived. Ward. Jamie Bird had just had enough. He was like, no, I'm coming through, Miss Ward, and I'm on my way. So there, Martina Ward has just lost a position to Jamie Bird, and if she's not careful, she may lose one to Wayne Palmer here. I don't know if Palmer's going to be able to get in. There's Krabs on the back as well. Krabs moved back up into 11, but again, he's not making gains. We can go forward and watch Buson and McHutchinson, but they're just not swapping or making moves at all. Maxwell's the same behind Edwards. He's closer to Edwards, but he just can't get past. I don't know if it is the slim nature of the circuit, because it does allow you to run too wide. Yeah, Dunlop you can, not so much through the Degner 1 and 2. Hairpin you can gan, round the long run down into Spoon, round Spoon. You know, there's a lot of opportunities for that, and they just can't. I don't understand why. They just can't seem to get close enough to each other.
Not at the moment. We're still in front of Maxwell here by quite some distance. Well, I say quite some distance, it's enough at least to hold on in this particular situation, but we're already coming up towards the penultimate lap, and I just wonder how desperate they're going to be up here as well. You can't forget that in the sprint race, the amount of points on the table here are limited relatively. McHutchison looking to gain an extra 3, Maxwell only an extra 2. Is that really enough the drivers to really warrant going for this right at the very end? Well, McHutchison maybe starting to wrap this up. He had a look going into 130R there. He'll have another one down in towards the chicane. Outside line, Buson forced to defend, and the first battles do now commence between the two of them. Out of the final corner, McHutchison not really with the run he wanted, but he'll have the slipstream, and he'll know that there's not much time remaining. One last lap here at Suzuka in the sprint race. Buson knows exactly what he's got to do here. He'll defend the inside line at turn 1 and 2. McHutchison might go for it anyway. He won't. He'll have to wait for later on this last lap.
Yeah, he didn't make the move either, neither did Edwards, and I've got a funny feeling LeMay couldn't. Brown, oh, where's he gone? Seth Brown, almost, I thought was going to have a go at LeMay there as well, but now it's becoming a bit of a front four. They've still got this little cushion of about 9 tenths back to Simon Edwards on the bottom there. You see Edwards just coming through the top end of your screen with Maxwell right behind him as these guys running around Dunlop down through Degner. And they're still as they are. Now there's only really one final opportunity for Mark Hutchinson to make that move. He's got to get the run out of Spoon. He's got to be able to get the car stopped, round Spoon he goes and on the gas, because otherwise it's going to be tough into Casio if Busan positions his car in the right place. So it's all or nothing now for Mark Hutchinson. Does he go for it? Does he not? Does he settle for the points? Who knows?
It's not long for us to find out now. Important for race 2, by the way. Paul Crabb has made his way up to 10th place as Wayne Palmer has had to go down to the pit lane for whatever reason. I think that may have been contact a little bit further down. Through Spoon Curve, though, it was not a good run for John McHutchison at all. Got a wiggle through the middle of the corner. He was backing off even on the back straight here, not even using the slipstream for whatever reason. And Bootson now surely should be able to take this one. Edwards with even a little bit of straight line speed and slipstream to help him in his defence of third position, with Luke Maxwell just behind. But into the final couple of corners comes Mike Bootson, and he will take a win here in Suzuka. Fantastic drive from him to hold up McHutchinson. It's Bootson here in race 1. McHutchinson, Edwards and Maxwell all come over the line within 2 seconds, and Paul Clark rounds out the top 5 after another great defence.
How he hung on to that. Paul Clark there as well. Jamie Bird did not get Brown. Brown kept hold of the position there as well. Paul Clark, absolutely stellar job defending. But that's Booson's first victory, isn't it?
It's first victory for a while, certainly.
Yeah, because he didn't get one last year, did he? Last season.
It's been quite some time. I did look on the stats, and it says he's had wins there before, although I haven't seen them, or I don't remember them. But my memory's not very good anyway. But I've got no idea. We'll ask him at the end of the broadcast. Hopefully he'll come to chat to us. But it's a great win for him, because as I mentioned, came into today 8 points behind Simon Edwards. He will move now to only 3 points behind with that win.
I'm sitting here racking my brains at the moment. I cannot think of at one point Mike Bousons took a victory.
Oh, it's possible for neither of us to remember it or have been here for it. So
even
we haven't seen every race in the history of this championship.
No, but I mean, like, over the last 2 seasons, he didn't get one last year because Watkins was his best opportunity. He put it into the barrier, and he hasn't got one this year. And iRace is telling me he hasn't got one this year. So that's in 2 seasons. Isn't that Bouson's first victory?
Yeah, as I said, for a couple of seasons, for a little while, that is his first win yet. It's been quite some time since he took a race win, but finally he has been able to do it. I mean, it doesn't seem to have affected him too much, to be quite honest. I mean, he's still right up there in the championship, as I mentioned, and he's been putting in the good performances. So in terms of that side of things, it hasn't mattered too much, but he'll be very pleased with that. Mike Bousson takes the win just ahead of John McHutchison and Simon Edwards. Luke Maxwell all involved in that one as well, in that top 4. Paul Clark holding off everybody else for a top 5 ahead of Paul LeMay. Seth Brown 7th, with Jamie Bird, Martina Ward and Paul Crabb inside the top 10. Phil Glover 11th. Good climb through the order for him. David Beasley 12th with Paul Godden. Wayne Palmer finishing over a minute back after an incident on the penultimate lap. Phil Jocelyn finished 1 lap down after his early smack into the wall. And Michael LeMay also finishing laps down after that race.
Yeah, now
it's time for the reverse grid.
It is, yeah. LeMay has come out and apologised to Paul Godden, basically, after his dreadful start. It's quite interesting. The funniest thing is, as well, is you can tell how friendly and relaxed. Good evening, Phil, by the way, and Mr. Paddy, good evening to you. How relaxed it is as well, because Phil just went, yeah, no problem. These things happen. We've all been there. Now, I've been there plenty of times in this car, spinning up the rear wheels and making myself look a little bit silly off the start line when I go and crash it into somebody. So, you know, if Michael LeMay can do it, then I don't feel so bad.
No, it's very easy to do, as we saw 1 week ago, but that's, I mean, especially worrying now for some of the drivers, I'd imagine, because that's 2 races in a row where we have seen chaos on the start. 3 drivers involved this time. Admittedly, it was more at race 2 last time, but, you know, reverse grid now, and normally that's where we see even more chaos. So let's see what this opening lap's got for us as well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. The only thing we haven't got, obviously, is Bank Corner, the rear-wheel drive car, and trying to keep it straight. So, obviously, what Michael LeMay done is easily done. You know, he clutched in, let the clutch out, too much gas, and around he went. So, you know, he's learned. He gave it too much beans.
Not blaming anyone, by the way.
No.
But yeah, it is easy to do, and it might worry a few in towards turn one this time. Let's wait and see on that one. However, that is the very short warm-up session complete, and the grid has been ordered. Paul Crabb and Martina Ward will be on the front row together, with Jamie Bird and Seth Brown just behind. Paul LeMay will be ahead of Paul Clark, and he'll be quite glad about that after race one. Luke Maxwell and Simon Edwards inseparable again, with John McCutcheon and Mike Bousson on row 5 together. Phil Glover just missed out on benefiting from that reverse group with David Peasley 12th. Paul Godden will be looking for a better start this time from 13th with Wayne Palmer, and Phil Justin and Michael LeMay will be hoping for the same on this opening lap on this occasion.
Yeah.
Hutchinson and Bousson were slowest to grid up last time, and they are once again.
Yeah, they are currently at the moment just waiting for Mike to get onto the grid. They have just got on that. So lights will be out very shortly.
They certainly will. Second race at Suzuka as we home in on the end of another championship in the Radical Race Series. The lights won't go out, and Paul Crabb gets off to a good start. Luke Maxwell through the middle with an absolute barnstormer. He could be up to third place by turn 1 here. He could be on the outside of Seth Brown, inside of Jamie Bird, and he could be on the podium. He is. Luke Maxwell with a fantastic start. Boosson's wide and off the road, as well as McCutcheon, who's well off there and down to 14th, 15th place. It's got round from Paul LeMay, who's got around. I think there was contact maybe with Seth Brown going through the Essex section. It's been a little bit of chaos, but not too bad. A couple of spins on this opening lap.
Yeah, and Luke Maxwell has got an absolute flyer. Bird did get back through there. McCutcheon took a trip onto the grass. He's just clearing Michael LeMay. So did Mike Bousson as well. Went a little bit wide and unfortunately went onto the grass, but not as bad as McCutcheon is now up there left behind the Paul LeMay. He's going to try and get through here. To try and get on his bike as quickly as possible. He's going to take the inside line. Paul's going to leave the line wide open. It's not his fight. Fully understands his pace and his position and moves his way through. Unfortunately for John McCutcheon, there is a little bit on the train in front that does involve his teammate Bousson, does involve Edwards, does involve Brown, and does involve Maxwell. So from now, he's going to have a difficult task to get really anywhere past 8th place because of the calibre of drivers further in front of him. Now we know this man, Paul Crabb, is especially quick, and he's going to be out in front and running away with it, I think, as well. And Paul Clark ended up down 9 places there, but I can't see why he is.
Clark, yes, I don't know why either. Just some shenanigans off the start, I suppose. McCutcheon down the inside of Phil Johnson into the final chicane, and he'll be through into the top 10 again. And Johnson gets a big slide on the exit. Godden that goes through it, and through the middle might well go LeMay here. Let's see. It's Michael LeMay who's had a better start this time, choosing not to partake in that one. I don't blame him either. Jocelyn and LeMay will both go through.
Yeah, Paul Clark.
It's be Clark. There may be the turning Derricks there.
Yeah, but I can't. The weirdest thing is I can't see what he's done. I've got. Hold on. So he's coming down into turn 1.
Simon Edwards.
Yes.
Ooh, well, Edwards was down the inside of him, and Clark did pinch him a little bit there, I would have to say. That's McCutcheon avoiding, I think. Is it, or Bousson? It is McCutcheon avoiding. It wasn't Bousson who went wide at turn 1 then. It was indeed.
Yeah.
Let's see. There are the two
There's
who
the
were
contact.
1 and 2 in that. So, yeah, there's McCutcheon. You can see the Scottish flag and the end plate there. So Bousson's on the inside line there, and it's McCutcheon right on the outside. And that's how those two have found themselves so separated. But there was the contact down towards turn 1. And then LeMay, of course, had contact a little bit later on in the S's section, a little bit further up from this. There it is. It was with Seth Brown. And, yeah, having seen it in real time when we did, I'm not really sure who to blame on it either.
No, the weirdest thing about the Paul Clark incident is his wing never bent until McCutcheon went past him. I straight up, I could catch it again, but if you have a look, his wing never bent until McHutchinson goes past on the outside because Edwards can't bend the left-hand side wing, right? It's just not possible. So watch as he goes past McHutchinson. There he goes.
Yeah, it's the old RS in damage model for you.
Yeah.
With the bendy rear wing carbon fibre.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. But there we go.
But anyway, something that Clark is going to have to contend with throughout the rest of this race. Battle for 5th place right now is developing again as it did in race 1, but this time the driver at the front of it is Seth Brown, with Edwards and Bousson behind, who are allowing Maxwell to get out front, as well as Paul Crabb, who are both currently up the road from these two. So this is going to be where the interest is in this race now. Edwards was able to keep drivers behind in the first part, in the first race here tonight, but what about in the second half when he's having to do the overtaking?
Well, he's going to have to see how he gets on here. I think from his point of view, Seth Brown is not going to make it easy, and Bousson's going to try, and his first port of call really in hindsight is to get past Edwards. Now, Brown's going to do everything he needs to. Edwards going to try and run round. Brown's going to block him off. Oh! And he had every right because there was room there to put that car there. So Brown's doing a stellar job, and Edwards is literally riding him like an absolute racehorse at the moment to try and get past him, but he just can't because of where Brown's putting his car.
It's quite brave from Simon Edwards to try and go around the outside of the hairpin, but didn't quite come off for him because Seth Brown did slam the door in his face on the exit. Edwards and Bousson still very close in behind though. Jamie Bird very close to Martina Ward as they're starting to lose touch with the leader. Side by side for second. Ward on the inside, but very deep on the brakes, just about pulling up in time. Jamie Bird knew that was coming, and so gets a fantastic exit onto the front straight. Luke Maxwell might smell his opportunity here. Is he going to make it 3 wide right to the inside of these two and take the initiative towards second place? It doesn't look like it. Jamie Bird's going to get the assistance. Oh, here comes Maxwell. He very nearly looked for that outside line for Bird. He'll take second, and in the end Maxwell will have to wait on a little bit longer to try and pass Martina Ward. He really thought about going for it at turn 1 though.
I thought he was going to have it then. I really did think Maxwell was going to go in so deep. Bird again's cleared Ward. Bird didn't want to sit there behind Martina Ward. He knew he was going to be losing time as well, so he's made that move. Maxwell's now got to make it as well. Seth Brown has got this man here, Simon Edwards from Company, running off round Dunlop, and Edwards just can't seem to get past him at all. There just doesn't seem to be a place that Brown is literally not letting him through. Phil Glover's under with pressure from Wayne Palmer, Michael LeMay and Paul Goddard, and Paul Clark is coming back through now. He's only down 7 where he started. He's now down in 13th with a bed wing that we saw magically go left there as well. Bousson's clear Brown. Brown had a bit of a problem down in the hairpin.
He's got a dive down the inside of Brown, and that's pushed him wide, and Bousson has gone through as a result of that as well. But you can see the straight line speed that green machine in the background has got there. Edwards goes a little bit wide at Spoon. He'll cut back for a late apex for a good run. But what onto the next straight. But what about Seth Brown down here in towards 130R and the as well? As he clearly has good straight line speed, especially compared to Bousson, whose straight line speed wasn't bad to be fair. But look at the way he's cruising up to the back of the race 1 winner here. Very good run through there from Bousson though, and he should be able to hang on now. I think 1 lap running at the front here for Edwards and Bousson will do them absolutely fine. They'll be able to get rid of Seth Brown pretty easily with the lack of wing that he has. As Luke Maxwell gets through on Martina Ward, who's made a mistake out in the final chicane.
Yeah, she did there as well. Unfortunately now, as under pressure from Simon Edwards is coming, and Luke Maxwell is through, but Bousson's still up behind Edwards here. Then we've got a nice train of Wayne Palmer, Phil Glover. Glover's going to try and squeeze it. Clark's going to try and make a move as well. Is Clark going to be able to hold it? He is. Paul Clark is through, unfortunately for Paul Goddard. Look at Phil Glover here. He's having a right old go at Wayne Palmer. Mr. Glover doing an absolutely stellar job. Of course, the man he is in the waiting room for the on-track interview, but we will, maybe not do that because of where he is currently and how much pressure he's under. But an absolutely stellar job. And Edwards is now closing in on Ward, and Bousson's now trying to follow him through as well. So Michael LeMay just past Phil Glover. I think Phil's gone off.
Oh no, he has.
Oh, Clark as well.
Yeah, Paul Clark and LeMay's off. Michael LeMay off and down at the Degners. So it's all been going on here. Already, LeMay back to pit lane. Oh dear, oh dear. Well, there's definitely some previous to that shot there. And Glover, oh my goodness me. Phil Glover has been sent like a spinning top, as you just saw that. Goodness me, that was quite sickening. Now, this is through the S's section. Oh dear. Off in the background as well. What's been going on in this group? This is crazy.
Yeah, so he obviously gets caught here by Michael LeMay coming in through Dunlop. So he's
had a slide. He's had a slide and caught it, and then he's on the grass and he's still not quite in control. So that's where he hits LeMay. Glover's still not in control. Clark is flying towards them, and Phil Glover's going to spin straight into the path of... Oh, goodness, do we want to see this? Phil Glover sent for a ride.
It's a great camera angle, but be aware that if you got vertigo or anything, I do apologise.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
All kind of
and that's how LeMay ended off down at the Degners, and Phil Glover's trying to get it back as well without escaping to the pit lane, just for a few extra points I think you'd get from that as well. But it was all very dramatic. It just shows the drama that this circuit can produce.
Yeah, and even right the way down the order, you know, they're right obviously at the back end here as well. They were, so even then they were still fighting tooth and nail. You know, Cramp's looking like he's pretty much got this sewn up here, but Paul LeMay is now coming on to the back of Paul Godden. Paul down 7 as well. He obviously had that spin at the beginning with Seth Brown. So he's trying to make his way back through. He's got to get on his bike a little bit here. His brothers were in the pits. Martina Ward has had an incident. Oh.
That's how she's dropped down so many places here, because Edwards, Wilson, Brown and McCutcheon were all very close behind a moment ago. But now not so much. That's too late on the brakes. And she has to go through the alternative chicane and goes over the gravel as well to make sure she doesn't come on track at a really awkward angle. So that was quite forward thinking, to be fair, but it will lose her 4 places, I think it did, in the end there. And that is a shame to see. Luke Maxwell, though, very close behind Jamie Bird. As you say, I think the race win's gone at this stage for anybody not named Paul Crabb, but Maxwell's got an opportunity to limit the damage and gain some points on others behind him. Down the inside he'll go into the final chicane, and that was a nice move.
Yeah, don't sit always sending out the inside. Job done. LeMay has cleared Godden. McCutcheon is now trying to get up. Well, obviously Brown is going to struggle here because we know what pace Brown's got on that car going down the straight. He's just sat in the middle of the track, kind of, you know, not really defending, not really attacking. But McCutcheon just can't get near him going down into turn 1. It seems that Seth Brown is literally on a 0 wing because his top line is incredible over the cars around him, but he just can't seem to hang on into the corners here, which is a shame really. But then again, with the less wing he's running, the more obviously downforce emittance he's going to have on him, so it's always going to be a problem for Seth Brown to hold on to anybody. He made a brave gamble. He put on low wing. You can clearly see he's done that, but as the race has more matured, he's struggled really to try and keep that car on track.
Around the outside from McCutcheon as well. It's a nice pass indeed, but just showing the difficulties that Brown is having through the corners. And I think Ward and Brown are going to have a good battle actually there. Martina Ward and Seth Brown, but they seem pretty evenly matched over the course of a lap. It's just Brown's straight line speed, and Martina Ward will probably have him in the corners. So it'll be an interesting one to watch. David Beasley at the moment holding on to a top 10, but Paul LeMay would very much like that position right now. And unfortunately, LeMay's chances of maybe getting up there in the title fight may be slipping away with this result here as he goes further and further behind in the point standings. 33 points behind the current leader with this going into this particular race after race 1. Lost even more in race 1, of course. And unfortunately, getting caught up in the start incidents at race 2, not ideal for him either.
No, he had a fairly strong start to the season, did Paul LeMay, and unfortunately, he's just dropped down the order. It's kind of like watching Spurs in the Premier League when they start off with such gusto and then they end up down in 6th before the end of the season. So it's a bit of a shame for LeMay. He's just about to go up inside David Beasley here as well, leaving room. Oh. Beasley got his elbows out there and made sure that Paul LeMay was not coming through. And Paul Godden's trying to go for it as well. So Godden's having a good old go from down in 12th place here currently at the moment over Paul LeMay, but just not making it through. Now Paul Crabb has just run away with it here. The next sort of battle that could materialise is Maxwell, Bird, Edwards, Buson, but I don't think these guys are going to get close. Is whether or not Buson's going to be able to put Edwards under pressure coming into the last 4 laps, of course.
I think there very much could be battles here in the coming laps here before the very end. It's just a case of from where and from who. I think Maxwell might be all right in terms of getting second place, but would Jamie Bird be able to hold on to a podium? It's just an unknown, really, because Bird hasn't been at all the races so far this season. While he has been strong when he has been here, it's a little bit of an unknown.
Yeah, it's weird with Bird, because there's some races where he seems amazingly strong, but doesn't seem to get the points. It's consistency, I suppose, would be the word for Jamie Bird, I think. It just isn't quite consistent. I don't think his position in the standings matches his race pace at times.
He's only been at 2 of the rounds so far out of the 7, so he's never going to be anywhere near in the championship standings. He's averaged 40 points a round in the couple that he's done. That included 2 podiums at Road America, and also included, it's worth noting, I should say, that 65 points is the maximum you can get from one round. So to have, around 2/3 of that means that he is running up inside the top third, which in a field like this would put him inside the top 5 or so, for example. So that's a mathematical way of working out a sport not based on mathematics, but anyway, as all sport isn't, of course. But yes, it's one of those things, and he could very much hold on, although he will have a job in his hands. Paul Godden very close to David Beasley here, and Beasley has been going through it a little bit in the last couple of laps, and being overtaken by Paul LeMay. Be down towards turn 1. Godden won't be able to make the move there.
No, Paul Godden's going to have to hang on for another minute here. Simon Edwards starting he's only got 4 tenths in front. He's got 4 tenths behind and 4 tenths in front here with Jamie Bird and Mike Buson. So it's now really what Edwards is going to be able to do, and if Buson can do anything about it. The problem is it's this man who has slowly caught them up and is now going to, was possibly looking like putting them under pressure until he landed into the hairpin, of course.
Yeah, it's the commentator's curse in full swing.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Sorry to John McCutcheon there, who's just off the back a little bit right now. Simon Edwards, though, very close to Jamie Bird. And this battle for third place is what's going to keep us entertained through the final quarter of this race. Down the back straight towards 130R once again. I don't think these guys can have any hopes of anything more than a third place right now. Paul Crabb and Luke Maxwell look pretty set in their positions, but Simon Edwards closes in with the lack of aerodynamic downforce he has on that car at the moment, using the gain in straight line speed that he'll have. He will need a good exit off the Castillo triangle though to get there, and it doesn't look like he will. Buson will be pretty close, but not close enough, I don't think. And I don't think Edwards will be close enough to Bird either as they go down towards turn 1. It would have to be something late at this stage. Simon Edwards not willing to risk that.
No, I think he's got to be a little bit careful because of who's around him, I think if it wasn't Buson and it wasn't McCutcheon one more back, I think Edwards may have been a little bit more aggressive on Bird there. But I think because of the cars around and where they are in the championship in conjunction to each other, I think Edwards is just playing a bit of air on the side of caution, should we say, you know what I mean? Oh, he does get a little bit out of big slide, so that is going to allow Buson to put him under pressure.
Will, really close between the two. I just don't know if Mike Buson's got the straight line speed to overhaul this, because not only has Edwards got pretty good straight line speed himself, he's also got the benefit of a slipstream from Jamie Bird, which is really helping him. Down in towards the hairpin though, Bird squirms on the brakes a little bit. Edwards will close in, John McCutcheon's right back with them again. It's foregone straight now, the only battle on circuit pretty much right now, but certainly the most interesting. We get towards the final turn at the end of this one. It's all to play for here, really.
Yeah, it definitely is. Bird is now trying to hold on as he's coming round Spoon, and Edwards is now looking for the exit out of Spoon for that run. Buson, of course, is looking to try and get out to the back to stay ahead. Edwards is literally coming up the inside of Jamie Bird now. They're right on your screen. The black is Bird. Edwards on, and he's through. Where is Bousson now? Is Bousson going to sit there and think, oh, he's going to go through the Casio?
Side by side, down the inside from Bousson. He tried to take the initiative. Bird will push him out wide though. And here comes McNutchinson now, out of the final corner. I don't know if he's quite close enough actually. He was kind of slowed up by the two of them. Bird should be alright now, but what about Bousson, who's stuck in this sandwich? Down the inside will go McNutchinson, not quite. There's not many laps to go, but Simon Edwards should be gone now, and he should be able to finish on the podium from here.
Yeah, hopefully he should be able to stay in third place there. It's now, Bousson's looking a bit raggedy. He's looking a bit raggedy. Is he a little bit flustered the fact that Edwards has got one place ahead, and he knows that he now needs to try and clear Bird at least, but he's not going to do that taking high bumps up curves like he has done already. He's just got to try and get back up. You've still got a lap, Mike. You can still get this. The man who's down literally about 45 minutes from me in the wonderful world of Somerset here. And he's going to be got to try and stay calm. He's got to try and just close up back again. Look at the last lap and think, right, can I get him here or not?
I'm convinced he will be able to do here. He'll be a little bit worried about John McCutcheon as well, of course, because when you're in a train like this, you are looking in front and behind all at the same time, and that is very, very difficult. And in the end, this is still a good points all on the day for Mike Bousson. If things were to end as they are, by the way, Simon Edwards and Paul Crabb would score the same amount of points for the day as an entirety, and Mike Bousson would score the same points as well. So the three of them would all score 51 points, and the entire round is pointless because they'd all be where they started, basically.
Well, onwards and upwards. Onwards and upwards to Spa then, I guess. Right, this race is completely hopeless because they're all going to be in the same place, so nobody's going to be taking any initiative over anyone here. So, well done, gents. Congratulations. Good race.
It's only if it stays the same as it is right now, of course, which is not likely as things stand. Final lap. And Mike Bousson will be doing everything he can to get into that fourth place. Jamie Bird will be doing everything he can to keep it. Bird slows down massively. What's going on there? Bousson and McCutcheon both go through with absolute ease. What is Jamie Bird? What's happening to him here?
It doesn't sound like he's got an issue.
I wonder if he thinks the race is over. Does he think the race is over? And now he might have realised, has he? I think he thought the race was finished.
Okay. Surely his spotter would have told him he's got one more to go, right?
Well, Bird's slowing right down again now. He can't have run out of fuel because he would have known exactly how many laps the race was and exactly how much fuel to put in.
I don't know. I can't answer that one, boys. I can't answer what Jamie Bird's been up to there.
Well, that is very, very bizarre indeed. But at the moment, he's falling down. Seventh place and continuing to drop further back. This means that the battle for fourth place is between Mike Bousson and John McCutcheon. As of right now, Mike Bousson would score the most amount of points of anybody in this round so far. Well, I say so far, it's about to be over here in a few moments' time. John McCutcheon just behind right now, looking to get up there as well. Around the final couple of corners, they will go. And Paul Crabb will go as well. He started this race on the first position after finishing down in 10th in race one. It wasn't ideal for him, but he's recovered more than satisfactorily. That's not a word. But he's done well in this second race. And Paul Crabb will win race two at Suzuka by a comfortable margin. Luke Maxwell will be second. Simon Edwards will be third with no battles to the line. There will be one for fourth though. It's side by side over the line between Bousson and McCutcheon. In the end, Bousson will get there and he'll score just a couple more points than those around him in the championship.
Yeah, I think Maxwell backed off there. McCutcheon backed off. He probably could have run him, but I think he just backed off and allowed Bousson there. Here comes the other guys behind him. Jamie Bird. That was a strange one. I'm not going to lie. He's down in ninth place in the end with David Beasley's going to be coming across. Bird's actually goes in the pits. He finishes ninth. Yeah, does finish ninth. So yeah, let me see if I can find out what happened to Jamie Bird there. You carry on for a minute. We'll bring you up the finishing results.
Slow down on the foot straight, really.
Yeah,
Just seemed to slow down on the front straight. Really bizarre.
Yeah, a bit weird there. Let me go on a bit of an investigation as we bring up the results here as well.
Seemed to surprise Boutsen and McCutcheon as well, but we'll get to that in a moment. Paul Crabb wins the race though, just ahead of Luke Maxwell. Simon Edwards 7 seconds back with Mike Boutsen and McCutcheon having that battle to the line. Martina Ward was on her own in 6th place at the end. Wayne Palmer 7th to Seth Brown. Jamie Birdie, who eventually finished 9th, to Paul LeMay. David Beasley, last driver on the lead lap with Phil Glover 1 lap down. Paul Godden finishing 3 down with Michael LeMay, Paul Clark and Phil Justin all 8 laps down at the end of that one, which is rather bizarre. I'm not sure what happened to them all on lap 4. Oh yes I am. I remember now. It was a big smash at Dunlop Curve and that may have taken all of them out on that lap 4 that just did not go well for any of them really in that one. But it was a strange ending to that race.
Yeah, from Bert's point of view, it was. I'm trying to get hold of him and find out what happened there as well. Obviously, we saw that incident between Glover, LeMay and Clark. The little bit of a seasick moment as Glover went up into the air. I don't know if you want to pull Phil in now and have a quick chat with him as he is sat there waiting in the booth. We will just have, while that's going on, we'll have a quick look at his incident. So we'll let his incident play while he's coming in for a chat. So there we go.
Just to rub it in even further. Welcome to the booth, Phil. Good to have you here once again. Tell us a little bit about race 2 and what happened in that incident here that we're just seeing.
Do you know what? I can't actually remember, but I'm pretty sure I caused everybody else to crash.
I mean, how was Suzuka for you overall, Phil? It's one of those circuits that's just so difficult to get right when you're on your own. But there were some good battles out there before that, especially in race 2.
Yeah. I think it was going okay for me at one point, but then it just sort of all fell apart. So I'm back to my usual place at the back.
Oh, it's not too bad for you, Phil. What about next week? We're going to Spa with a little bit more runoff, a little bit easier, a little bit more recognisable circuit. How are you feeling about that one?
Well, don't hold your breath, guys. It's a nice track, but it's one that I've never been very good at, I'm afraid. So who knows? Maybe I can turn it around.
Exactly. Who knows? Phil, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Well, I haven't, as I can't remember what happened, I can't tell you who I've caused problems to, but whoever it was, I apologise.
How was it in your motion sim?
It was all right. I've got my full harness on, and it's attached to the back wall, so I'm compressed, sufficiently compressed.
Oh, okay.
The thing that worries me about that, Phil, is pulling your back wall down. To be honest.
Yeah, exactly. I don't break that hard, though, to be fair.
Oh yeah, let's hope not anyway, because that could be nasty. But anyway, Phil, thanks very much for chatting to us, and we'll see you next week.
You're welcome. Speak to you next week. Cheers, guys.
Thanks very much. Phil Glover there with a disappointing end to that race, unfortunately. With a very pleasing finish to race 2 was Paul Crabb, who joins us now. Paul, welcome to the booth. Good to have you here. And a good point haul for you in the end here, despite some of the carnage in race 1. Let's go back to that first of all. What happened down at Degner 2 on that opening lap?
That was all my own fault. I just overcooked the entry and just slewed around and spun it, but stayed up the wall. So once I got it back round, I was okay. There's no damage, so just a matter of trying to catch up and trying to get into 10th.
Yes, very important to get into 10th as it turned out. How did you approach the second race, knowing that leading out of turn 1 is a very good place to be in, and someone with your pace starting in first place should be able to do that in a reverse grid race? What was your mindset going into that second run after the disappointment of the first race?
Well, I reckon that the quick guys were the top 4, so they were 4 or 5 cars behind, so I thought I better get a shift on and give myself a little bit of a gap. But I actually took it semi-steady for the first few laps because I didn't want to screw up again. And once the tires came in, I could push on a little bit, and my plan was to push as soon as Luke got past Martina and Jamie. So fortunately, I managed to just keep the gap to Luke. So it worked out quite nicely in that respect.
You mentioned the other four, and adding you into that, we've certainly got a top five in the championship that certainly seem to be battling this one out. Although you guys did all so well this week that you've actually made almost no difference to the championship at all. Any of you, to be quite honest, I can tell you, I think you're going to be the same amount of points behind Simon as you were at the start of the day. I think Mike might be a couple of points closer to you all, but other than that, it's pretty much unchanged. How are you feeling about the final third of the season?
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. It's great when there's more than one or two in contention. It definitely adds a bit of interest for everyone. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Not least for us, we're very much looking forward to it as well. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, I'd like to sincere apologies to Wayne Palmer. I cleaned him out at the chicane. I clipped his back right. Unintentional, but still, I should have been more careful. I was just a bit too keen to try and get past him. So big apologies to Wayne.
Well, fair enough. Paul, congratulations on a nice drive here this evening, and thanks very much for chatting to us.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks very much. Paul Crabb there, race winner in race 2, just ahead of Luke Maxwell, who will join us now as well. Luke, welcome to the booth as well. Good to have you here. Second place in this one, just a case of fighting your way through during race 2. But how was the overtaking around Suzuka, which is not traditionally an easy circuit?
Yeah, it was tough. I think I managed to get a really good start in the feature there, and that put me in good stead. I did go a bit wide in turn 2, but managed to slot in and think, right, let's just settle down now and get the tyres up to temperature. I think, was it Jamie and Martina were having a bit of a battle in front of me, so I thought, let's just sit tight for a minute. And there was a gap building behind, so I thought, we're all right for a little while. Let's get the tyres up to temperature. And then it was a case of, I think Martina ran wide at the last turn and managed to pass her there. And then it was a case of trying to get back up onto Jamie's tail, and that was good. It was tough, but I was really struggling with setups today and practice. I couldn't dial it in at all. Couldn't get, I was a good 7/10 off of the pace, which I was really struggling with. And then right at the last minute, I made a tweak to the camber, the caster, sorry, and it just clicked, and I thought, oh blimey, I finally dialed it in. Thank God.
It's bizarre how these small changes can make a very big difference. In terms of the championship, Luke, you're around 30 points away. As I said to Paul, the championship situation really hasn't changed too much, to be honest, because everyone did so well. You're around 30 points behind at this stage with 4 rounds to go. Is that a gap you think you'll be able to close?
No, I'm away, unfortunately, for the last 2 rounds, and with the way the start of the season's gone, I'm not in it, unfortunately.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah, so just got was it next 2 weeks, I think, and then that's me till next season. But I'll push on and see how we go, and you never know, they might fix the SR10 at some point.
So, oh wow, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see about that. Before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Just all the guys that racing today. It's good, clean racing for the most part. Everyone's giving each other enough space and so on. It's when people do make mistakes, and I did one in race 2 and sent it on Jamie a bit, and these things happen, and it's all fine, right? So everyone's racing well and racing cleanly. It's good.
It was certainly a good weekend or good round to watch. Luke, congratulations on second place in race 2 especially, and thanks very much for chatting to us.
Cheers guys, yeah, all the best.
Thanks very much. Luke Maxwell there, second place in race 2. Let's bring in Simon Edwards, who retains his championship lead here this evening at Suzuka. Simon, welcome to the move as well. Good to have you here. Third place in both of the races, if my memory serves me, in this one here tonight. How are you finding Suzuka out there?
Oh, I love Suzuka, and I was channeling my inner Alonso to keep getting the thirds. But I didn't quite have the pace. I did actually have a qualifying lap in me, but I just screwed it up on the last lap. I didn't quite have the top two's pace, Mike and John. But I enjoy racing around here. I didn't particularly enjoy hot lapping and setting the car up. But once we were racing, actually, I forgot about all that and was actually having a good time. And that second race was corking, wasn't it? I think for trying to get past the me's, the low downforces.
It was entertaining. To be fair, Sam, I was going to ask you about that, about downforce and what you went for, because traditionally you've had the lowest downforce of almost anyone, and I think maybe you would agree that that's how you won the second race at Watkins Glen, for example, and all these kind of things. What kind of setup did you go for in downforce, and with hindsight now, what turned out to be the best choice?
I think I had roughly around the right choice. I only had about an hour and 3/4 practice before this practice session, so I just went for something safe. So I went for a medium downforce. So my wing, out of 38, I'd got 22. So it's sort of a mid drag, mid downforce set. But I went for a very soft suspension so that I could ride some of the key curbs, say in the Degners, and at Spoon I could ride the outside curb. So it was just a compromise setup, and but good enough, as you saw, consistent. I just didn't quite have that top pace.
Not quite, although you're still up there with a couple of podiums. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
In the second race, who exploded next to me in the second corner? I'll give them a shout out.
I can't remember. I cannot remember who it was at all.
Yeah, no, they're just sort of.
Paul Clark?
No, it might have been. It literally, we were just going through together. There was nothing. I was right on the curb, and then all I saw is his car pinging sideways next to me. So
I cannot remember at all.
Yeah, so
If it was the second race, it
so
was
I'll give a
Clark.
shout out to him.
Yeah, Paul Clark.
There we are. Okay. Simon, congratulations on a couple of podiums here tonight, and thanks for chatting to us once again.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Thanks very much. Simon Edwards there with another couple of podiums and retaining his championship lead. We have still one remaining, I believe. We haven't had a chat to Mike Bousson yet, have we? I don't believe so.
No.
So let's have a chat to Mike here, shall we, before we end off for the evening. Mike, welcome to the booth. Good to have you here. A race one victory here for you tonight. We were wondering, though, when was the last time you were able to win this series, if at all? And it's...
Probably back 1976. I don't know. It was a long time ago.
Exactly.
To be fair,
predicted.
I thought myself, I really wanted a second, to be fair, but thought while I was there, better take it.
I knew you had. Well, I thought you had won it before at least, but I didn't quite know when.
I think it was an SR. I think it was an SR10 was the last one.
Right. Okay. So, well, it was a good one. Tell us a little bit about that in race one in terms of holding off John, because from our side, it looked like he never really even made an attempt until the penultimate lap, going on to the last lap.
No, I felt also that he was saving it, but I've done quite a lot of laps around here, so I was really comfortable with it. I felt where I knew where I needed to place stuff, so I sort of wasn't too much. But like I always say, it's the John McCutcheon effect. When he's behind you, lap times sort of disappear from me a little bit because puts me on edge. Bless him.
And he did in race two as well, I would imagine. Tell us a little bit about that last lap there in front of Jamie Bird. You were right in behind him. I did quite well to miss him in the end, but it turns out he ran out of fuel or was short on fuel or something on that last lap.
Yeah, I sort of obviously went to try and go through, I think, at the same time as Simon was going through on him, or whatever lap it was. And I was a bit generous with the room, and I thought, let it go. And then all of a sudden, obviously, I was drafting in, and then it came to an almighty stop, and I was amazed that I didn't take him out, or take us both out, sort of thing. So I did think to myself, I thought he's finished the lap early. But
I did.
But I'll take the place.
Absolutely. That was my theory as well, by the way. But there we are. Turns out to be a fuel issue. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to, Mike, before we let you go?
I'll let you chaps have it this week. I think it's going to be a good watch back, so I'm looking forward to that. So shout out to you guys.
Get to celebrate your first victory, Mike, for a long while there, bud.
Well, that's it. I thought I was past it there for a minute. I thought, gonna have to sell it.
Well, at least you didn't pull a Watkins and stick it into the wall, mate.
I know. I come up with all sorts of excuses, but finally I ran out.
You've even run out of fuel for a race that you knew how many laps was going to be.
Well, this is it, you know. As Perez was said, I've won a 0.5 of a race. I'm on a high.
Well, if you add them all together, you've technically won one before. So
That's what Jamie Bird just said in the Discord as well before. He chickened out. He deleted the message. He put, I pulled a Mike Bousson on fuel, and then he quickly deleted it. I was like, I saw that, Jamie. I saw that.
Yeah. I'll have a chat with him. Bless him.
Thanks very much, Mike, for chatting to us, and we'll hopefully see you next week.
Yeah, catch you soon, guys.
Thanks very much, Mike Bousson, there, race 1 winner, and up there in race 2, very much so as well. But good to speak to Mike, and definitely his first win on JPB. We can definitely agree on that. First win for quite some time, and nobody quite seems to know when. But I don't remember it, and I've been covering this series for nearly a year now, so or maybe it's been more. Don't know. But yes, it's been great to see him back on the top step for the first time in quite some time. But another fantastic round. Great in terms of entertainment, but in terms of changing the championship, we've not really seen anything here. The top 5 all scored within 5 points of each other. So really nothing has changed, but it's really unfortunate actually, the news that Luke Maxwell won't be here for the final 2 rounds, which means it's I suppose it is mathematically possible for him to win the title, but exceedingly unlikely.
Yeah, the weirdest thing is, as you say, this race kind of didn't really do anything in terms of the championship. It's still Edwards out in front by 5 points with Bousson behind him. However, it was the battle that Bird did run out of fuel. I'm not quite sure how he ran out of fuel, but he ran out of fuel, did Jamie. And now, I can't repeat all of the message that John McHutchinson said, but let's just say he had a very interesting need for new underpants when Jamie Bird just appeared straight in front of him after Mike Bousson pulled out. So that was an interesting conversation. And of course, Bird did say, I pulled a Mike Bousson there and run out of fuel. So again, it's an interesting one. I'm not quite sure how he ran out of fuel, considering he knows the laps before we start. So there we go.
Well, this is my argument, but we had this discussion back at Fuji either last season or the one before when Mike Bousson was leading and surely going to take a win, but eventually, as he would put it, found an excuse not to, as he just said there. But very pleased for him that he was able to get there, and maybe now that he's got the one, maybe there'll be all sorts coming along at once, and he might well need them in the final 4 rounds because the Radical Race Series will be coming to its conclusion. Next week, we'll be heading back to Europe and to Spa for the first time since week 2 in this series, for one of only 4 rounds on the European continent. It's the iconic Spa-Francorchamps. Make sure you join us in 1 week time here on the JPB YouTube channel. But for now, from me, Ewan O'Leary, alongside James Parfitt here this evening, thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next week at Spa.